Hello to those listening. This is the freest of speech, and I'm going to continue today talking about everyday feminism because I ran into this article on the website where this Johnny Silvercloud is talking about I'm losing tons of friends fighting racism, and I'm totally okay with that. Now, I may not be the, let's say, guru of acquiring friends. Hell, I'm not even that good at it myself. But the thing about it is, if you're doing something that's causing you to lose friends, I would stop and reevaluate what I'm actually doing. I mean, the dude's pretty much talking about how he's fighting racism. But the thing about it is, nobody's okay with racism except for racists. But the thing about that is, you would know that they were racist on day one. So why would you make racist your friends to begin with? I I don't understand the logic in the article itself because I actually had to read through it. And what we have here is this isn't the situation where I said a second ago that they were racist and then he made them friends, then he decided to not be a friend of racist. This is just these are people who are doing shit that he didn't like, and he's trying to pretend as if it's racism that motivates it. Now, I'm gonna get into this article right now, and I'm gonna get into this part. Well, at the beginning, because it's always good to start from the beginning. And he writes in it that as an Afro American man, I don't know where the fuck this came from. This a new thing because if it is, nobody told me, and I needed somebody needs to put out a memo or some shit so we know. Okay, but back to the article, right? Um, Afro American man in this nation called the United States, it is a known fact that at the professional level, one must possess a dual identity. I don't know much about everyone else, but for me, in these trying times, maintaining such a thing is driving me to the brink. Now, I don't know where this dude comes from because you the only time a person possesses a dual identity is if that individual person chooses to have a dual identity. And the thing about it is, most people, matter of fact, pretty much all people who work have a dual identity. You have a work mode and you have a non work mode. Most people are inherently nicer when they work because, well, they're getting paid. It's always a good thing. But when most people are home, they just chill out and do their thing. So this dude acting like this dual identity is some kind of complicated thing is ridiculous. It's called work mode. If you don't like the work mode you're in because you don't like the environment you're in, you leave. You go somewhere else. Or you just shut up. Now, let's see what these things that just brought them to the brink were. And we have here is all of the microaggressions suffered at work, all of the near blatant racist ideas uttered by my colleagues. How am I supposed to soak up the notion, for example, that a guy that I had Christmas dinner with would plow through a set of protesters with his Mustang? This is how racism works. You can have friends, people who hold dear, even Down syndrome. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. You can have friends, people who hold you dear, even, or people. No, it should say people who you hold dear, who have outright racist. You know what? I'm not even gonna keep reading this because it's all stupid. And the editor fucked up here, and he fucked up. But this is supposed to be his job. It's not supposed to be writing. I'm not a writer, and I caught this mistake. This dude might need the bone. This dude may not have been catching microaggressions and blatant racism or ideas. He just might suck at his job. But okay. You know what? That might be being mean. Just because one sentence that this writer wrote didn't flow well, isn't enough to just say this. But what we have here is what his issue was: microaggressions. Last time I checked, microaggression was supposed to be something that people involuntarily do. You're complaining about things that people don't know they're doing, but you're going to say that the intention of the aggression is to be racist, even though the person has no intent, because microaggressions are about things that people do that they don't realize they do. He might as well have said that the people shot him with the gun, not knowing that they had the gun pointed at him and not knowing they had to pull a trigger. And you know what? I'm not even gonna screw that example. Terrible example because it's stupid. I can't even come up with a good example. I'm sorry if you had to listen through it. And the whole concept of nearly blatant racist ideas. There's no such thing as nearly racist ideas. Either something is racist or it's not racist. And seeing the fact that racist pretty much means bias based on race, meaning it's not negative or positive, it just is. No, this is an is thing. It's just like being inside or outside. You're either one or the other. It's not nearly nothing. It is racist or it is not racist. Now, I'm going to scroll down here. As you can see as I'm scrolling here, there's a hell of a lot more here to go. And you know what? I am not going to go through all of it. Again, I read through this. Talking about Zimmerman case. Talking about self-care. A bunch of just to me, narcissistic, paranoid delusions of grandeur. That's what I see here. Because this dude's job is not full of racism. It's not full of microaggressions. This is how he chooses to interpret the world that he lives in. The only person who's racist is him. The only person who's engaging in the microaggressions are him. Because he's looking for it. And because he's looking for it, he's interpreting it. He's not asking these people, why are you doing this? Later on in this thing, he goes through this list of talking about suffering in silence. I'm at the part right now. You can read some of it. But again, I'll put a description below so you can read through this whole thing if you really want to. But he's talking about suffering in silence. Who suffers in silence? Well, let me rephrase that. There are people who do suffer in silence. But those are people who don't have a voice. Or people who lack the ability to speak. I'm not talking about physically not being able to talk. I'm talking about people who they know if they speak, everybody will shut them up. You know, kind of the way society's going. Being a white man pretty much means you don't get to talk. Whether you can speak or not, they're saying you can't talk. because of racism. This dude is a black man. At the very least, he can throw down the black card. You may have some feminists pop out and say, push away his man card. No, you're a man, so you got to kind of halfway shut up. But he can still throw down the black card, and that'll at least give him at least 3 good seconds. But all this talk about blatant racism is nothing more than this man's mind. He's been indoctrinated with the concept that everything's against him, and so he spends his time looking for everything to be against him. And here's the thing, any person who's faced straight up racism will tell you, you ain't got to look for it. It is in your face. See, that's the bull. That's the beautiful thing about it. Whether it's positive or negative, racism is in your face. You see it. You can point to it. You don't have to. You don't have to search for it. There is no microaggression in actual racism. There's just racism. This was the freest of speech. Thanks for listening.